Thank you all for coming. Are you guys so excited?
Yes.
I love your outfit. I'm Julie Boardman. I'm the co-founder of the Museum of Broadway, and we're so thrilled to have the cast of 6 here to continue our Breakfast on Broadway series, which we're doing with a bunch of different shows, a look inside with either the cast or creative team. So check that out for the future. So we're going to get going, and if you guys would mind just going down the row and introducing yourself, and then we'll shake off all these questions.
My name is Nasia Thomas. I play Anna of Cleves.
My name is Kristina Leopold, and I cover Aragon, Seymour, and Parr.
Hi, y'all. My name is Hailee, Kaleem, Wright, and I play Katherine of Aragon.
Hey, I'm Aubrey, Matalon, and I cover Boleyn, Seymour, and Howard. I'm Jensen. I play Katherine Howard.
I'm Leandra, Ellis-Gaston, and I play Anne Boleyn.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here. So we're just going to go through. I've got some questions. We have questions from people on Instagram. They submitted questions too, and then we'll open it up to questions in the room as well. All right. So just to kind of get going, I think we're going to start with one of the questions from Instagram because it's kind of fun, I think, which is, what are some of the small details that in the show that often go unnoticed that people wouldn't necessarily know? So throwing you for a bit of a loop. Hopefully you had some coffee this morning. Little like fun things or something with like a band maybe or what?
I would say all of the poses, like every pose that you see, or we call them bands, are choreographed, which makes it fun for alternates to learn them. But yeah, all of those are choreographed very specifically. I think too how much the band acts with us is probably another answer. And they're all named after historical figures that are relevant to, like Katherine of Aragon's Maria on the drums, very closely related to her, like First Lady in Waiting. Like all of those are planned strategically, so that's a fun little tidbit.
I actually thought that every single, in my head I was like, how did they get all of the drummers to be named Maria? It wasn't until a little bit through drummer where they were like, they're actually named after people. And I'm like, oh, okay, because I really thought everybody was John.
Wow. I think another, like our inner ears are real because I've had a lot of people ask, like, are those real? Do those really work?
They
think it's just like jewelry. It's like, no, they're really on. They are definitely an integral part to the show. And we get like little cues from the band, well, from our conductor on the piano in our ear for like certain things for timing and stuff like that. So yeah, it's very integrated into our show that we need those inner ears for sure. And they protect your ears because the band is so loud.
Can each of you actually just talk about some of your personal queen inspirations for your roles? I think that would be really interesting to hear, like your personal like motivation and what gets you excited about being in that particular role.
Yeah, for Anne Boleyn, I took a lot from Pink, me to a little bit of Tank and the Bangus. And recently I've been really into Miley Cyrus. I'm talking Hannah Montana, Miley Cyrus. But I think that's because I am a Disney fanatic, and so when I'm bored at home, I just sit there and watch old TV shows. That's a Raven, Hannah Montana. But recently I've been into Hannah, I don't know, Hannah Miley, Miley Hannah. So those are my queen inspirations at the moment. I will say that I think like as we progress, as we get stronger in the roles, I find that like new things start to pop in. Do you know what I mean? Like I start to find new clean inspiration. I might watch a music video and I'm like, oh shoot, I want to be Cardi B today. Even though, you know, like find new ways to add that in. So I think like the clean inspiration changes.
Yeah, I'd agree. It kind of goes in chapters based off of like how I'm feeling in the moment. Right now, I'm giving pop, punk, Glinda.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel when I do this show, because for me, I don't know, I feel like our colors kind of represent something within our characters, you know, and for me, I tried to find like what the pink meant for me. I think you could go, I know this is so silly, you could go like baby pink, you could go bubblegum pink, you can go like fuchsia pink. For me right now, I'm really into this like hot pink, like Demi Lovato, Hailee Williams from Paramore, with a little bit of like Ariana Grande in there still, a little bit of that cuteness, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now.
You nail it.
So good.
mine has been pretty consistent. It's been like, I love Beyonce so much. Oh my gosh. She's just, I mean, an inspiration to us all, but especially for Aragon, I feel like she's one of the things that I like about the role. I feel like she is like all about female empowerment, even though we have, you know, y'all seen the show, but even though we have our little moments, I feel like she's still like deeply supporting every single girl, because we know the end, and we're all kind of trying to get there. But I love Beyonce, and then I've also been incorporating a little bit more Nicki Minaj in there. Like I have a little rap moment, and I've been really feeling that lately. I've been really enjoying like really spitting bars for a little hot second. So yeah, Nicki and B are like definitely my queen inspiration. Yeah.
For me, I would say on the audition form, I feel like Nicki Minaj and Rihanna were who my queen inspirations were for the audition. But I found that the heaviest queen inspiration for me is definitely Meg Thee Stallion, which some of you may not know about. But you know, Meg Thee Stallion, Missy Elliott. I would say that there's some Nicki Minaj in there. Definitely some Lizzo.
Yeah.
And I think for me, why it was important to like kind of incorporate those people. Those artists are, first of all, very heavy on the body empowerment. If you've seen the show, you know that I have no problem with showing what the good Lord, you know, or like highlighting, because it's important, you know what I mean? You don't really see characters like this on a Broadway stage. You don't see a Beyonce, you don't see a Pink, you don't see Meg Thee Stallion on Broadway, and it's super important for all of us to make sure that we're representing every single sound, every single artist that you would never see on a Broadway stage. Super duper important for all of us. So those are my queen inspirations.
I feel like each of my roles are taking on different shades of Demi Lovato. So it just depends on the album, you know? Like, certainly Aragon is her most recent album, which title I cannot say in this room. And then, it's got a little expletive in it, it's fine. And then I think, like, Parr is giving the old, like, don't forget type of, you know, the classic stuff. And I feel like Seymour is giving the, the anyone, like that performance where she's just standing there and the single tears happening, you know, all of that. So different shades of Demi Lovato right now.
I think for me, I think it's all a mix of all characters kind of encompass all of the queen inspirations, but it's like Avril Lavigne, early Demi, Lady Gaga, but meat dress Lady Gaga, performance art, and specifically for Howard, like Olivia Rodrigo, like the young, like angsty, sad girl. So all of that.
That's good.
No, that's so great just to hear, you know, the crossover from Broadway to pop culture, and the show does that so well. We're just coming out of Women's History Month. So can you talk, obviously there's huge themes of women empowerment, and in the show it's very much a through line. So can you talk about what that means to you personally, and then what you hope the audience takes away from that?
I'll go first. I think the show is extremely powerful because there's not many times that you get a show that is only about women, you know, like we are such in a time where inclusivity of trans rights and all those things are really empowering in this moment. And, you know, we get to all, you know, there's non-binary, there's all those things, but we are representing 6 important women in history. And so to stand empowered in that in this moment, in a world where rights are really trying to be taken away from groups of people, it's even more important how we stand together. Not only like for women, but the different shades. There's so many cultures represented in this country, in this show, period. There's so many different shades of Black in this show. I think in our production particularly of 6. I'm gonna say 6 on Broadway. I want to be clear about that. But I think it's important. I also think it's important too, like the little girls we see out in the house at the end of the show, sometimes I get in trouble because I'm like, hi. I'm literally in the midst of waving them down, but it's because I want to show them that, like, in 5 years, in 10 years, in 15 years, you could do something like this. And it may not be on a Broadway stage, it may be in the Capitol. It may be in, you may be a lawyer, you may be a doctor, but you can be empowered like this, you know? No, I just think it's important. I think it's extremely important, and I think that we're right now standing in the midst of life on Broadway, you know, but what we're showing people is that you matter in your small city. So if you can use our voices the way we use it on Broadway in your small city, it will affect us for the rest of the years, you know? Like, we just really need it right now. I'm sorry, I get passionate about it.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And, you know, the museum is founded by 2 women, like, right there with you.
I mean, look at these little faces. It's like, I can't. You're so important. So, yeah, that's what it means.
It's also like really cool to stand among these powerhouses every single night. You know, being in a show where there are 11 principals and we're women, you know, it is, and to stand, you know, next to y'all and to see our friends be brilliant and to see our friends grow as artists and to see these women grow as human beings and to advocate for each. That's one thing about this cast. We don't play about one another. We don't play about one another. And to stand in, you know, to stand as a Black woman and advocate for my sisters up here, man. For Women's History Month, we were definitely cutting up. Yeah. We were definitely cutting up. Yeah. We were cutting up.
The whole year, every day.
Every day. I mean, every single day, but man, we don't get chances like this a lot, you know, of time to be, you know, all, you know, female cast principals on Broadway. That's nuts. Yeah. And more of it. More of it. More of it.
That sounds yes.
Well, talking about the little girls out there who are boys who are watching and just feeling so inspired. Can you talk about what that means? Like, just I think each of you personally, like, you know, something from your life and what empowered you, and then how you're now passing it on while you're on the stage. I think there's something really beautiful in that. So maybe someone who inspired you in your life and how, if that motivates you to, you know, show the future generations.
Well, I mean, I feel like a lot of us have had those moments growing up. For me, it wasn't necessarily a person, but like, I'll never forget the first time I saw a show was Wicked. I just talked about Wicked, that's funny. In Chicago, I'm from near there. And like, I remember my mind like being blown when I saw it. And I remember like waiting at the stage door after to like, and it was like such a big deal for me to meet this actress that played Elphaba. You know what I mean? I just remember those moments when I'm in this position now, because it's like, you know, obviously I want to be like, oh, they're there to see me, but they're there to see, you know, the actress that's in Six, you know what I mean? It means so much to them, and I'm honored to be in that position to get to see them. It's literally my favorite part of the job is to meet, especially kids, but everyone of all ages after the shows. I think you can really impact someone's life just from those like little moments. It like means the world to me. It's my favorite part of the job.
Yeah, I think we touched on it a lot, but it's a never ceasing point for me. It's like representation matters so much, and so I love seeing these young people in the audience who, you know, look like me or don't look like me, but like they're seeing some parts of themselves in every one of us, and like I've gotten DMs of like, hey, I want to be an actor, and like, can you help me? And I'm always like, yes, these are the resources you need to use, because I had many mentors along my journey, whether I knew them or I YouTubed them, because you know, you can have that too, you know, just researching. I never got to see a Broadway show till I was like 18, 19 years old. I didn't even know what Broadway was, like when I saw Chicago or Hairspray for the first time on the movies. It took me a long time to even know that there was like a place called Broadway, like literally, you know, so it's like, just the fact that they're already in the audience is already like, they're leaps and bounds ahead if they're interested in following this path, you know, and I think that's so cool to be part of a possible inspiration for someone deciding to do what you do. I think that's so cool.
I think life is tough, you know, like life can be so hard, but I think what's brilliant about this show and what I hope young people gain from it is that you can reclaim your story, and then especially for young girls, you know, it's like you're a woman. Like, there's gonna be time in life where people will try to silence you, and there are gonna be things that are really hard. But then when I think of like where I was a year ago to where I am now, I wouldn't recognize that person in the best way. I went through absolute hell on earth, and now we're here, and I just like can't believe that. So if I can come from that rock bottom, they can come from whatever their rock bottom is, and we can all reclaim our stories and like be proud people. And I just think that's what I would hope somebody would gain inspirationally from seeing the show.
Yeah, me specifically, like when this came out, this show, I was a huge fan, like listening it in the car with my mom, like working out to it. And so, you know, sometimes like the job is hard, or it can feel just like a job, but then when I do get to go on and I like meet those people that are these huge fans, and then I'm just like, oh my God, like that was me a couple years ago, and I'm still a huge fan, but like it is possible to do whatever you want to do, whether it's Broadway, whether it's whatever, but it's just like really cool to like look those people in the eye who are just like crying or whatever, and just be like, this is a dream can become your reality. It's just, it makes it all worth it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I have never, like, I think it's an incredible thing to see Black folk on stage, period. You know, I personally am of a darker skin complexion, so it means a lot when people can see somebody my complexion on the center of a stage with box braids in my hair, something that's very cultural, something that allows people to know that, like, I'm representing a whole group of people, you know, and like you will work with somebody that looks like this. I will work with somebody that has the look, you know what I mean? Like I will work, the ethnicity range to me is always something that's really important, especially for people of color. And so like Zoe says, like I never miss a stage door. I could be tired, I could be whatever, but I know that if there was one Black girl in the audience, I know that she was looking at me. And that's all that matters. That theater fits 1,000 people, but one person, I changed the way that they looked at what they could do in their life. So that is like the biggest thing. I know I feel so bad sometimes, like when I walk to the stage door, I'm like, where they at? You know, like, I'm just like, you know, I try to find all the kids, I try to find like everybody, you know, but for me personally, that's like where it's centered at. I would say probably the same for Nasia too. I mean, the hair texture, like they changed. The show was so kind to us to change some of the design, to represent who we are as people as well.
To be like a dark-skinned woman on stage with a kinky curly curl pattern, like that's what your hair is what my hair looks like. This is a wig, you know, because I like the color, you know. But to say to the wig supervisor, hey, you know, I really want to feel like myself on stage, and they changed my wig so that I have a fro, and we don't see stuff like that on Broadway. We don't see the box braids. We don't ever see that. You know, I have a cornrow like afro, and it's super duper important. Whenever I see little Black girls in the theater that have box braids, I always watch them watch Leandra.
It's amazing.
I always watch them. Whenever, I mean, it is super duper important because growing up, I didn't see this. I didn't see this for the people in the back. I didn't see this. So to represent a group of people who may come from underprivileged, underserved communities. I came from a single parent household. My mom was 15 when she had me. She was 15 years old. And to be here on a Broadway stage as a Black woman, as, you know, a little curvier Black woman, I could use more hips probably. But, you know, to do stuff like this on a Broadway stage where you don't really see that in commercial theater. You don't see that. And to celebrate every single thing that makes us unique and different, and to be in our Blackness, and to put culture tags, and for you to put your culture, for you to put your culture, for you to put your culture, for every single person to say, this is who I am, this is where I come from, and I'm not sorry about it. I'm not sorry, and I'll do it again.
I think also to that point, what's really cool is that individually we can say those things, but whoa, when we're together, what does it say? I'm sorry, when the 6 of us sing together, that sound is crazy. No, the sound is it's like, forget the loud, I mean, like, we sound intensely good. I would say individually, like, we sound so good, but it's just like, we can all stand on what we said individually, but as a group, what do we sound like? Like that, even more so, that people can see. My favorite part in the opening number, XYs, we go, welcome, like we're pushing forward with the mics all held up. And sometimes I can understand the visual of what that looks like. To me, I'm always like, we look like we're in the military. Because we're like coming forward, but it's like armor. The microphone is our armor, like don't mess with it. 6 women, here we go, Transformers. I always feel that way, like let's activate now, So I just we can stand on that individually, but wow, when we're together, oh my goodness.
And that's any 6.
That's any 6.
Any combination of people that you see on stage at any given
At any time. I mean, put any alternate in and still the sound. It's wild.
Good job, Cassie.
That they did. Yeah, I just had to say that because I think that we sometimes can get so lost on our own personal thing, but I get excited to lift up Zoe. We get excited to lift up Hailee. We get excited to lift up our sister, our brother, like all those things. Like that is even more important also than our own personal stuff.
Yeah, there's a thing, to how you kind of keep it interesting day to day, right? With alternates on and how the cast changes and the dynamic. Someone said to me a long time ago, you never know who's seeing the show for the very first time or who it's their very last show that they may ever see, right? So you have to show up every day and make sure that you're giving that 8 times a week and really being there and present. Can you talk about stepping into the role, when you come on, when you're an alternate, and just kind of, what that means and how the dynamics change and when you kind of when it clicks, when your moment is and you're settled in that particular performance, I guess. Both of you?
I just want to start off by saying the amount of support that we get from these women is insane. It is the way we get through the show. It's, there are times when we're thrown on or we haven't rehearsed a track in a couple weeks and, we have 3 roles in our brain. It's it gets confusing sometimes. You don't know where you're going, but just everyone's looking at you and making sure that you're okay or giving you a little nudge, a shove with love.
It's also part of the blocking down.
It's fine. There were a few I was thankful for.
But yeah, it's just that alone is really an important part of getting to do this show, and
Yeah. I think stepping into things as an alternate can be intimidating because you're this is the machine that they've got going every day of all the time, and I don't want to mess that up. Especially because I love these girls down, okay? So when I go in, I'm I don't want to do something that's going to take them out of their show for a minute, and then I put that pressure on it. But I think what Aubrey said is perfect, that the support that we feel, especially I'm blessed to play 2 tracks that are other sides of Leandra. And when I tell you Leandra, who has dance captain swing brain, she has me. And I just really, getting emotional. Yeah, she just has me and I just feel really safe. And I think that's what makes it settle is I'm this show is about us coming together and being powerful and standing in these little costumes that are Tony Award winning and all those great things, but it's if I know I'm on stage and I take a second and I'm overwhelmed and I'm don't mess up, don't mess up, don't mess up, and then I just look down the line at these beautiful humans and I'm oh, I'm okay, and then I'm all good to go. So they make it easy is I think the summation.
It's also fun when they go on.
oh yeah,
For us.
it's a treat.
Yeah, it's fun. It's something new tonight.
Yeah.
We need to shake it up a little bit. Yeah.
It's also really fun to go on with other alternates.
Yeah.
We got to go on for Howard and Parr together, and that was our first time and only time so far going on. And it was just really cool to had done this whole rehearsal process side by side. We're dressing roommates and get to be 5 and 6 together. And that was just really cool. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about, obviously you're stepping into these really historic figures, and kind of what that's like for you. Obviously, you've gone through like what you bring into the role, but just like the power of, you know, these women we've known about, but, you know, he's always a celebrator, you know, like talk about that a little bit just for the historical aspect of it.
I feel like it's kind of tricky because 6 kind of reminds me a little bit of like Hamilton, right? Where it's like this historical show, but it's telling a story. It's like when we learned the show, we spent a little bit of time learning about our characters as historical figures, and I do think that that's very important. But it's this weird balance of like some historical, you know, resources, but also sticking to like the story of the show, because the actual story of the show, you know, is other than like obviously getting beheaded and things like that. But like the principle is something that could happen at any time. You know what I mean? So I think it's very important. I think we focus a lot more on that rather than like historical accuracy. I will say, you know, I think the most important thing is sticking to the text, and sometimes it's important to go to outside resources to better understand the text. But I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm not really trying to be a historically accurate Katherine Howard, but I did take a second to learn a little bit of facts about her so that when I say things like Dowager Duchess in the song, I know what I'm talking about. But it's still a story that would maybe happen to someone in 2023. You know what I mean?
I agree. I feel like, again, it's like, you know, being of color, being black, you know, and stepping into this Spanish woman's life, you know, white woman's life. I was like, okay, I don't really know that experience, so that's going to be a little difficult for me. I don't know what it is to be a royal. But things like what you were saying, like having historical context, is like knowing that Catherine of Aragon like rode into battle pregnant and like handled business for the king. That's something I need to have in the back of my head so I understand how in this moment of where we kind of captured I'm gonna mess up the name, but it's like the court of, I'm not even trying. It's like blacksmith or something like that. But she's talking to Henry. She's saying, no, I'm not going to let you divorce me. You have to know who's saying that. Am I saying that meekly? I mean, yes, the song's No Way, but like, am I asking or am I telling you I'm not going away? So it's like things like that. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, this chick rode pregnant into war. Like, she's not taking anybody's stuff. So that kind of lets me operate with the women in a different way. You know, obviously have a very special relationship with Boleyn. You know, but the thing that I love within our character too, this is jumping up a little off topic, but the thing that I love is that we have the tightest connection to friendship. You know what I'm saying? Because we already are 3 steps ahead. Like, I knew and again, historical context too, she was living in the kingdom with Catherine of Aragon and Henry, and Catherine was like, you can stay here, but this isn't your house, you know. And so like there was they even said that they had somewhat of a liking to each other privately, that they just didn't talk about, you know, publicly, obviously. So I think that like that all those things can play in the back of your mind, but I'm definitely with you in that I definitely had to disregard a lot of historical context for a lot of this stuff because, you know, maybe specifically because I'm a black woman, and I didn't want to get too much into the woods of like what that would actually mean for me to be in this body. Yeah, to be in this body in that time. But yeah, I kind of had to disregard it, but I think we find ways to continue to make sure we're honoring them in a certain way.
We started rehearsal November 2nd.
Yeah.
November 2nd was when I found out who Henry VIII was. I didn't know. You know, growing up in Virginia Beach, Chesapeake area, 757, I didn't learn about Henry VIII, and I certainly didn't learn about his wives or his mistresses. So it's really cool to like, I kind of stepped in there a little blind. All I knew was that, you know, Cleves, she turned lemons into lemonade, and she was rich, and she said, you know what, if you want to divorce me, that's fine, but I want the house, I want the cars, I want the boat, and had a fantastic life, and, you know, she's a party. I think that, you know, we did our research for all of these characters, but what is the most special, and this is going off of what Zoe said, was, you know, bringing it into 2023. Yeah. What does that look like in 2023? How can we, you know, put the culture tags and the time tags into this show and make it relevant for the people who are watching it, who maybe are not history buffs? us. You know, my dad and, you know, my family came, they don't know nothing about these people, but they're able to relate. A lot of people, you know, didn't learn, and they're able to relate because they're seeing what we in 2023 as these humans in our bodies, what we bring to these roles.
And I've heard a lot of people go and research after they see the show to like find out like, oh, what was going on over there? So, you know, it's like.
I mean, I even remember when Toby and Lucy, the writers of the show, came, you know, or no, this was on the Zoom call, our first couple weeks of doing rehearsal. You know, they even said, like, you know, our main goal with this show isn't to teach a history lesson to these audience members. It's, you know, they really wanted to just be like people leaving the show being like, those are 6 really talented women that can really tell a story. But again, it's not really about like, oh, we're going to teach them about Henry VIII.
Anne Boleyn's a little tricky. She's a trickier of them. But no, I think my favorite thing about Anne Boleyn is that they really flipped the story on its head to give a new perspective on it. You know what I mean? I know. I'm glad that somebody got that. Okay. They really flipped that, and for me, it's really fun too because I can see how she was so like pivotal and actually important to history. You know what I mean? Like. From that perspective, she was a little bit of, you know, adultery. There was some stuff going on, so bad girl. But on the other end of it, I can really understand how somebody can be like, I need to progress myself in life and progress my purpose. And so what does that look like? So I've tried to find in Anne Boleyn, the character, 3 things I could hold on to that we can relate to now. So like, she was not playing about like the way that she got there. You know what I mean? She was like, I want to be important. And I understand that, you know, as women, we want to make our mark on the world. So she wanted to do that. So I like pulled different things from her. Other things I was like, I don't want nobody to talk about that. You know what I mean? I don't. I think what's fun too about Anne Boleyn in the show, or I like to call her Boba with the box braids for me. But what I think is really fun about her is the history jokes. She has a lot of them, like a severed head, and like I laugh because we had a kids show the other day, and so they laugh at all the inappropriate things. It was crazy. They got all of the things I thought they weren't gonna get, and then we got to the history stuff, and they didn't laugh. And it was like mind-boggling to me because I was like, oh, I thought that they would have got the history part and not the other things. And I tried to play it down. I was like, don't go too crazy. But all the other stuff they ended up getting. But I was like, oh yeah, we're Americans, so we didn't really learn a lot about British history.
Yeah, that's
you know. So then it made me realize, like, oh, so in the show we can't take it too seriously. Yeah. Like we can't take the British portion of it literally. You know. No. So yeah, that's how I kind of found Anne Boleyn. I'm still working on it someday. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, it's an evolving process.
It
is.
is.
Like, theater is live, so whatever that.
Especially with this cast, from December to now, we're a different group of people.
Yes, we are.
So this question is from Hailee on Instagram. She said, if you were to swap roles for one show, who would you be? It's a good question.
I would want to be Kay Howard. Kind of just sexy, standing there, just sexy with the jazzy, smoky tones. Our girl Zoe does every single night with the pink ponytail. That's
Oh my god, I would live for that. I would live for your Howard. I would definitely want to do Parr. I auditioned for Parr, so I feel like I still would love that. I also love blue, so I just want to wear the costume. We love the bathroom easily. Yeah, right. Yeah, that.
I want to be Boleyn, hands down. So they're cousins in real life, Kay Howard and Boleyn, for those who don't know. So the beheaded cousins are just so cool. Funny. It's like the skirt.
We also really love each other.
Parr and Aragon are related too.
Yes,
yeah.
also that's right. Seymour is related to us
She
too.
is, but we don't talk about that.
The only person who's not related to anybody?
Yes,
everybody's
cousins.
You and Howard though had a little.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Howard and Cleves.
I think this is all making sense now.
It's funny too, me and Zoe love being beheaded cousins.
Yeah, we are cousins.
No, we have the best time. The makeup, everything. We're like obsessed with each other.
Yes.
No, literally. No, if I could be somebody, it's so hard. I think I would have a really really fun time doing Cleves. I think that I would just literally, I would be so ridiculous. And I would get in trouble and they would be like, yes, she's Boleyn. It would come back to me. I think me as Cleves would be Boleyn. But it probably Cleves. Also, too, I would want to kick at Seymour. I think that would be fun. I think that mom comedy is too good.
It's good.
It's too juicy. Yeah, those little deadpan things. It's like right there. That's very juicy.
I think I'm in my Parr era right now.
Ooh.
I don't know. I love
You're gonna
that.
add that on.
Who do you mean, a fourth? No.
I got all of my dream roles, so I'm
Hailee, you mentioned that you actually auditioned for a different role.
Yeah.
So can you talk about that audition process a little bit for each of you? I don't know if you all
Yeah.
auditioned for exactly.
Well,
the
I
character
actually,
you got.
okay, so.
And then also,
Yes.
what song did you sing when you auditioned?
So I had an audition in 2020 for 6 on March 11th of 2020. I was on tour. I flew in. I had 5 days left of my tour. I flew in early, came to New York, and I had 3 auditions, and 6 was one of them. I never got to go because obviously they started canceling things. They were like, hey, this weird thing is happening. So that was 2020. And then I think the next time was 2021 because Joy was leaving or Anna was leaving, somebody. And so I was like, oh, cool, let me, whatever. So I went and taped for that, didn't hear anything back. And then in 2022, I came back in, and then I had 3 days in a row that I came back in whilst I was also rehearsing for the Tonys at the time. So it was doing double duty, and that was intense. I sang If I Were a Boy, a cute little Beyonce. And see, I didn't even put 2 and 2 together. I was thinking anyway, so I did that. And I remember in the room, they were like, can you sing Aragon? And I was like, yeah. Did I know that song? Not really. So I was like, I need to really pull this out of my butt right now. So sorry kids. But we got to get the job. So they, our musical director Roberta, she came up to the piano, and I always love it when the musical director comes up because then it's I know I'm about to book this, right?
Yeah.
I got
It's
it.
a good sign.
It's a great sign. So she came up, we played around with some riffs. Which I love to do, and so we played around with some power, things. She was like, "Can you hit this note? Can you do this? Can you do that?" And I was like, "Yeah!" 10 in the morning, and they were like, "Okay, great. We'll see you tomorrow." And I was like, "Okay, cool. I'll be back." And I just kept, and then we learned 2 dances at the top, and then me and Leandra actually were dance partners together. So everybody else was in groups of 3, but we were in groups of 2, and we had a bit of a knowing of each other. We weren't I wasn't friends yet, but we knew each other, and so we just had this synchronicity of just energy and power, and we uplifted each other. And I remember being dang, I want to work with her so bad. I hope we get this together. So it was a really cool.
I was so loud in that audition. Every time people would dance, I'd be like, "You better dance, girl! You better dance!"
And that's another thing too. The audition process. I think everybody's pretty much similar. Very supportive rooms.
Yes.
Very much uplifting the other girls, because some people actually sang in front of each other. I never did that,
I
but
did.
I did. We danced in front of each other, and it was it was a really supportive time. So yeah.
And that's a change because I used to audition once upon a time, and it wasn't always that kind of energy in the room.
No,
Yeah.
I would even say
Uplifting
5 years ago
and
it wasn't doing that.
But I think for the show in particular, it's how can you support somebody that you don't know at all?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
In the room, I think that was really important.
And that's such an integral part of the show. So I feel and that's another thing too. I don't know how many of y'all want to do musical theater, but your audition starts the minute you walk in the door, but it's also not about your talent sometimes. It's about your attitude and the way that you talk to the fellow people around you. People are watching that, and that's so important. It's not to be fake, be your natural self, but it's something to have on your mind that the second you walk in the door, how you treat the person who's taking names, and you just need to be cognizant of that, because people want to work with people that they like and that they think are going to be friendly and good to work with for years and years to come. So I think that, and like they actually called my stage manager at one point too on the final like aspect and called and said, how is Hailee in the room? Like, how is she at work? And luckily, my stage manager, I always was showed up on time. She was like, she's always on time and she always does their job, so just remember that your reputation matters in this business for sure.
No, that's such an important part that isn't talked about that widely, right? But when you walk in the room, you do, like I've sat on the other side of the table now, and you call, you want to know that you're going to have this great group of people, because you're also like trying to figure out the balance of like within all of you guys, so you guys will work really well together, So all of that is so important to the things that you don't necessarily always think about, it's like how you show up.
Yeah.
You want to talk a little bit about your audition?
Yeah, so in 2020, I got an email in 2020 around like June saying, hey, there's a 6 sit-down company. Y'all remember that? There's a 6 sit-down company in Chicago that's happening. Can you send in a tape for Aragon and Seymour? And I did that, right? And then I got a call back. And then I said, is there any way that I can audition for Cleves? Because I just feel like that's a little more that's who I resonate with the most. So I just sent in a video of me with sunglasses in my audition, doing the Cleves thing, and they said, you know what? You're absolutely right. Cleves from now on. They dropped those other 2, and I said, thank you, Jesus, because I don't want to have to warm up. But I can't do it justice. So yeah, I auditioned for that. I think I got all the way to like, okay, we're gonna do the final callbacks. We're gonna fly you to Chicago and blah, blah, blah. And obviously that didn't happen. And then, auditioning again in 2021 for the Aragon tour, but then I was like, I don't want to go on tour. I just want to do Broadway. So I kind of, excused myself from that because I was like, I want to do Broadway, and I know it'll come around. I know it will. Yeah. And then 2021. Was that 2022? It was 2022.
One was not like.
Yeah, it was like, what's happening? 2022 auditioned again. They were like, do you want to come in for Cleves? This is for Broadway and tour. And I said, I just want to be very clear. I want to stay in New York. I just want to do the Broadway. And, auditioned in June. And then found out in July. We were in Hercules rehearsal. I got the call in rehearsal that I was going to do Cleves. So long story short, I auditioned for Seymour in Aragon. I think I sang Get Me Bodied, which is an incredible cut. Ooh, put it in your book. It's an incredible cut. And ended up, sing rapping 8 times a week on Broadway. So thank you.
Crazy story. So me and Nasia were doing a workshop together, and so Nasia gets the call while we're in the workshop. Oh my God. At this point, I'm like, I don't know, nothing, could care less about a 6. What is that? I'm not kidding you, y'all. We were in rehearsal. Nasia used to call. I'm so happy for Nasia. I'm like, whoa, go Nasia. She's like, girl, you gotta go for the show. I'm like, no, I'm tired. What are you talking about?
So you haven't auditioned for it yet?
But I ended up auditioning 2021, and I sang Shake It Off by Florence and the Machine. Oh. And they ended up saying, you have a call back, and I turned it all down. Because I was in another show at the time. So I just kept turning it down, until Nasia comes, and she's like, girl, I booked it. I'm like, wow. She's like, girl, you need to go. And then another friend of ours at the same time was in the workshop also, and she was like, you need to go in. Like, what are you planning to do with that? Why are you being done? So I finally went in, and they told me, because they saw us in the workshop with Nasia, they then put Boleyn on me.
Wow.
And so then, that's how I ended up becoming
That's
Boleyn.
so cool.
Same casting office.
Same casting office.
Workshop.
Yeah. Ended up casting us together, and they saw. And I remember originally they asked me to come in for Cleves, and like I told you, my Cleves was very Boleyn. So it was very, very Boleyn. So then out of that experience, like if it wasn't for doing the workshop with Nasia and those girls, I would have never thought about 6 again.
You're like, just audition, Leandra, please. Just audition, please.
And so I'm so thankful that ended up happening, like the way it ended up happening. You can say no so many times, and the door or window will still be open.
Still, yeah.
Yeah. If it's meant to be, yeah. And then once I got into the room, it was like, oh, everybody better watch out. Yeah. Once the words started coming out of my mouth, like the song, I was like,
yes.
Sit down.
I remember I got a call and my homegirl was in the audition with you, and we're like, she got it. I know she got it. And I was like, I hope she does. I was like, she's so cool. She's so cool to work. Like, I was like, I want to work with her. So I remember specifically, they're like, no, she's Boleyn.
I felt that too. I was in one year. We did a scene together, and I walked out. I was like, that's the Boleyn. That's our Boleyn.
You know those moments in life where you're doing something so good, you're doing something right, and you're like, there's nobody else. Yeah. You have that, and again, I felt like an Avenger. I was like, whoa, armor, But no, it was really wild, and also like Roberta, like the team behind the table at the time was so nice. I was also in a show, so it was like a lot of chaos. And back to this dance call was really funny. I didn't know any of the dances. Yeah. So everybody in the room knows all the dances, and I'm like, I don't know anything, but what I do know is finesse. And for those that don't know what finesse is fake it till you make it. Yeah. Okay? That's what finesse is. But I know finesse really well. And I remember they had all these girls going back and forth, and I would be in the corner, I was sitting in a chair. I know, and to other people it looked like I probably wasn't doing anything, I looked really dull, but the whole time I was with a water bottle like this, and I'm like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, like the whole time. I'm like going through it, so that by the time I got up, I could kill it. And in my audition, I always, after a combination, I would go, eat!
Yeah.
Bam!
Yeah. On the ground after the get down combination.
Eat!
Anytime I say eat, that just means, there you go, you got it. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was crazy. Never again will I do something like that. Oh my gosh. If you guys can't tell, I'm kind of Boleyn always.
It's the shaky foot.
Right.
Aubrey, can you speak about, since you were in the room also?
Yeah, no, my audition process was kind of long and but really fun. I was doing Between the Lines off Broadway over the summer, and so I was kind of like just lots of stuff going on. I remember my first audition was our opening night, and I was the offstage cover at Between the Lines, but I was on for opening because COVID, whatever. So I just remember doing that, but 6 was my dream show, and so I was like, there's no way I'm not gonna go in for this. And I at first I didn't really think, I was like, I'll be in the show at some point, like I felt that in my heart, but I didn't know when. I was like, I don't know about now, like I'm kind of new, I'm young, whatever. But then just kept getting called back. I originally, so we were asked to sing one song from the show and one song of our own personal choice, and so I did Don't Lose Your Head, and then I did Since You've Been Gone by Kelly Clarkson.
Ooh, that's a cool.
And then they asked me to do Seymour, which I was like, what? Seymour? The mother? So did that, never, just like Seymour was the last person I ever thought I would do. But then did Seymour, and then they added Howard on last, and then they asked if I, would be willing to be considered for an alternate, and I was like, it's 6, I'll do anything, I'll hold the crowns, I don't know, but yeah, there was one audition though, my third callback. I was there. When
we were
I
sick.
I left the dance call 3 times because I had to go to the bathroom to get sick.
That's not the same one that I was at. That's crazy.
It was the same one.
Oh, that was the one that I was at.
We had it coming out opposite ends, and we were like, I'm just gonna be this.
No.
We literally were like, my stomach. She's like, yeah, mine too. And I was like, we got this, girl. We got this.
And it wasn't COVID. It wasn't anything.
No.
But I've never gotten sick like that before. But part of me thinks that because I went out very calmly, and then came back and did the dance call and still had my facials going on. I was like that. They probably were like, you know what? She can probably be an alternate. And then I came back and sang after, vomiting a lot. So doing well under pressure. Yeah. So that was very memorable. That was my experience. Yes. Oh my God.
And I was sitting between the two of them, talking across me with my mask on like this. Please don't get me sick. Fresh on. Yeah, I was like, it's fresh off the plane from working at Hong Kong Disney for like 2 years, like through the pandemic, and we handle COVID very differently than
Yeah.
So I was sitting with my mask, like, oh my gosh, like just traumatized. Like, welcome back to America, girl.
That's funny.
And what did you sing?
Audition. Yeah, so I first went in, I sang Anyone by Demi Lovato, and then I chose Katherine of Aragon as my queen of choice, mostly just because those contrasted, not because I was like, yeah, I'll do Aragon. But yeah, and then they had me do that, and then the next callback day they added, I think, Parr. And then the next callback day, they added Seymour, and I think similarly, I was like, Seymour? Like, I just never signed myself up. I was like, the one that's like always white? Cool.
That part.
Just saying, what's that part?
Yes.
I mean, it's
I felt
facts,
the same
it's
way. They
facts.
asked me to sing Seymour too. I was like,
It's, yeah.
Y'all know I'm okay. I mean, of course, but I understand why you would ask.
Yeah, it was great. So they added that, and then
It's my inhaler for my
and then the second time round I came in a different time, they added Howard. So I sang for 4 different Aragon, Seymour, Parr, Howard, and I was in that callback room for about an hour and a half, just going back and forth with the. And I think that's when they were like, yeah, she got the durability to do like I think if we can have her sing and screll, and those are really the singing tracks. If we can have her do all 4 of those tracks and sing Aragon 4 times over and over, like if we can have her do that, then she'll be good. And then speaking to like in the room, I definitely think that like there were some how do I describe it in a word? I just call them musical theater girls who were very like like in the like waiting room, and I was sitting again with the mask on, okay, and I just had my headphones in with my mask on, and I was just kind of like sitting to myself, like stretching my feet, whatever, before the dance call. And then I saw one of the casting directors come in, and he looks at the room, which is chaos on this side, and looked at me sitting just like peaceful and quiet. And I honestly think that's when I booked it. He's like, this girl is docile. She comes in and does the work. Like, great, alternate. Let's give her a Broadway debut.
Oh my god. Honestly, 6 is the most intense audition process that I've ever done, to be honest. Because it's like you learn dances for like 3 hours.
Yes.
When I went for a 2-day session, and it was like 10 to 5 both days. Like from 10 to 1, we learned the choreography, and then from 1 to 5, you would wait in the waiting. What? Oh, yeah. And then from like 1 to 5, you would wait in the waiting room, and they would bring you in one-on-one and like meet with you one-on-one. And I went in for just Howard, and
Period.
yeah. And you know what? I knew I really wanted this, so I came to the audition dressed as Howard. Ponytail up, pink makeup. I was like, you're only gonna see me as Kay Howard. But yeah, it was cool. It was hard. Oh, I sang a little bit of a musical theater song called If I Had You by Drew Gasparini, but at that point in the auditions, they were really just like focusing on the material. Yeah. And honestly, I wasn't really familiar with 6 before auditioning. Mainly, I don't know about y'all, but I'm someone who it's like, I kind of avoided it because I knew that it was something that I could probably do one day, but I was a little scared. So I never really listened to the musical. I had to learn the song, All You Want to Do. So I was more focused on getting those lyrics. My first day of auditions, I kept flubbing up the lyrics. I didn't know them. I was like, all you want to do, baby, is fall for some of the yeah. So, yeah.
It's an intense
lyrics.
Yeah,
I got it.
You'll get the story in my eyes.
I got an email. The casting director emailed, can she learn the lyrics? Literally in my email, I get the call, like, they want you to come back, they want to make sure you know the lyrics. I'm similar, I will be, I know the melody.
Oh, and I was, no, just like both for like your song.
Yeah,
wordy. Yeah. Also, I don't know about y'all, but I was surprised. I walked into the audition room and I prepared my number, and they were like, can you look us in the eyes when you sing?
Oh my God, that was diabolical for me the first one.
That's the main reason I kept messing up my lyrics, because I wasn't expecting to have to stare people in the eyes. I mean, and I understand why they did that, obviously, because that is, in my opinion, in order to be in this show, you're talented, that's obvious, but you have to have a certain, like, we talked about this the other day, you turn it on.
Yeah.
That, like, fierce, you know what I mean? That ability to have people look at you and the ability to look at people and be a queen, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, it's the stage
you know what
presence
I mean?
of a pop star.
Yes.
Like that's
You
how
gotta
you have to
have that
have
level.
on the stage. It's not, you can't just be a musical theater girly that has the fourth wall, because we break that from the jump. So it's like, I had to do my monologue with no music and straight to one person. And the first time I did it, I literally could not remember the first prince's name. So I kept saying Prince Charles instead of Arthur. And they all were laughing, and I was like, what did I say? And they're like, you just said Prince Charles. I was like, oh God. It was a mess, but we got it. We figured it out.
Well, let's open it up just to a couple quick questions from the audience. Malcolm, first.
Hi. So loved the show. Got to usher this show twice, by the way. A lot of fun. So a little bit similar to what the question was earlier. If you were to sing, what is your favorite song to perform every night that isn't yours?
Not even the group numbers? We can't say group numbers?
What's your favorite number to watch or perform every night that isn't, you get to perform every night that isn't yours?
Oh, I would say Mega 6, just because one, it's the end of the show. And for me, I'm like, am I gonna get through this today? Because sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's really hard. And it's just like, that's a celebration of, we got through it. And also it's a time that's mostly just improv dancing, and just, that's really when we really celebrate each other. So I would say Mega 6
Major
is the
banger.
most fun for me.
I agree. It's just fun, and I don't know about y'all, but sometimes if I'm really focused in the show, and we're wearing those in-ears, I get so internal, I get so by myself, and then that's kind of the moment where I look at these women again in the eyes, and I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, we are here together. We got through all our little solo numbers. Let's finish it up. So yeah, I love that part too.
I love No Way.
Yeah,
Oh, I is my favorite.
And Hailee, you eat that number up.
I'm here. No way. I say it all the time. It's like the dancing behind that number. I'm Destiny's Child. You can't tell me any different. That number. Also, too, I've known Nasia for years, so to watch her Cleves,
That's
is like it
So
is every day I move. Every day I move. To watch any of them. And I feel so bad for Zoe because I want to watch Zoe, but we're like, no. But like
It's so stressful.
no, whatever, so stressful. And she's going through so much. She's singing it down. Like in my ears, I'm like, whoa, that vocal. Like it's mad. She's incredible. But we're all so stressed. We're like, don't touch her now, don't touch her now, don't touch her.
Which horse is this? There's
Yeah,
four.
yeah,
There's four.
yeah.
I'm gonna say my favorite's Heart of Stone, because we get to sit on down. Give me a little agua.
That's one of my favorite songs.
I break it up in chapters, so I'm like, okay, by the time we get to Heart of Stone, I'm like, okay, we got chapter 1 done. You know, it's like, okay.
So it's actually the first number that if there was anything that to go awry, we can leave during that number to go to the bathroom, to fix the in-ears, anything. So that is also a very special moment.
And we feel so bad for the Seymours, because they don't get that opportunity.
Oh yeah. We don't talk about that number enough.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the hard thing about No Way, at least I find for me, like 2 of my tracks are kind of directly after that, and like don't get that first break, and so sometimes I'll be like really dancing, doing the choreography, and I'm like, oh, I'm Boleyn, I have to breathe and do all the things.
Yeah.
It helps me. It gets me right in no way because my number's right after it. It kind of pumps me up. Like it amps me. Until when Hailee hits that high C though, every night I'm like, oh my gosh, you can sing. I'm like, oh my in-ears are like ringing. I'm like, yes, sing! And then but it pumps me up. So by the time I can sit down to laugh, I'm actually really laughing normally. Yeah. I'm normally really like.
She's taking pictures of us.
I know. That's the secret things too. Like we have the phone. I call the BOGO phone, and I do sometimes I look it out and touch up my.
She's getting notes tonight. I'm telling you.
It's always right next to me. It's my phone.
You're wild.
I guess
You're
it's
wild.
my cell phone. So I pick it out. Sometimes I like dab up my makeup in the face. Sometimes I turn the voice memos.
Are you?
That phone cycle had no story.
One time I was on the Boleyn phone, and I guess I was pressing record, and then I forgot to stop it, and then face down. 52, however long it was, just was recording. It was just a black screen though, and it took up all the storage.
That's funny.
Let's finish the next question. Oh, go in the back and then up to the front. Oh.
What were your journeys like before 6 and how did they prepare you for it?
That's a good one.
I'll start. I was on the road at the time with Hamilton, and I was at the point in my journey that I was ready to come back to New York. I was ready to settle down, and frankly, I love Hamilton. I played Eliza. I love Hamilton, but I really loved singing Schuyler Sisters, and I wanted to do a lot more like moments like with other women. Like it's such a male-dominated show, and again, it's wonderful. But I'm like, and being in this show has been extremely healing for me personally. I'm someone who is not. I mean, you think about my character. I'm someone in real life who's like a little shy. So doing these things, like that nature of that song is like very out of my comfort zone. I'm also someone who's very shy in real life. So I'm definitely the person that'll be in my dressing room, like by myself. I won't really interact with people. So being in this group has been extremely healing for me. I only want to say that just because that's one of the reasons why I have so much fun every night, because I'm like, oh my god, like I feel so in with this group and I feel so in tune with each other. So that's what I'll say about that.
Y'all kind of already mentioned this, but what other like shows have y'all done besides this?
I did Beautiful. That was my Broadway debut. I did Ain't Too Proud. I did Carolina Change, and now Six.
Heavy hitters.
Hey!
Yeah.
I was in a girl group, and every single one.
Yeah, me too.
Chris Hamilton's next, right?
Oh, I'm trying to just like.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, those are great. I think we'll take just maybe 2 quick questions more in the back.
Oh my god, thank you. So here, my friend and I were both like actresses. We came all the way from Argentina to try to pursue this.
Yay!
And like you girls were some of the people, for me at least, who like really made me see like Broadway performers as like real people for the first time, and it being like an obtainable thing. And I wanted to know like if there was like one tip that you could give people who are trying to get into this business, like what would it be?
Be authentic.
Yes.
And ask questions and like lean on people, but also like keep learning, like keep growing in your craft. So like go to as many classes as you can, because those classes are so, they might be expensive sometimes, I know, but you can scrape the money up, go to the classes, because that's going to give you network, and then that network is going to help you work. So that's what I would say.
Sometimes no is the biggest blessing that you could ever experience.
That's true. And with that, I would say be willing to always be someone who's learning. You know what I mean? There's never going to be a point where you're like, I've made it, I know everything.
I'm taking classes.
And honestly, that helps my mentality as an up-and-coming actor, being like, no, I'm just the same as everyone else. Like, we are all learning. Like, this is just the place where I'm at the time.
I think everyone has so many questions. Okay. Very quickly.
Yes. Hi, my name is Ashley. I'm a Taiwanese American performer, and so representation means so much to me, especially with you, Zoe. I did get to see all of you in December. And so my question is just like, in being in a show with so many women and being on Broadway, like what is something, because Zoe, you've been in a show with a lot of like male dominated, but something about either backstage or just on stage that makes a big difference in terms of being with women of color, especially.
I'm just gonna say, I just feel like it's a safe space at all times. Oh, I don't know. But I think it's a safe space. I think that we all feel seen and respected and loved, and we know how to take our time with things. And the reason why I say that is I really feel like sometimes, I'm not trying to generalize, but sometimes, and like a male-dominated show, it's like we just get done. But sometimes it's important to take a moment and see how someone feels or have those tough conversations. And I'm just around so much like bravery all the time, and yeah, so I'll say that.
Thank you.
And then I have like one more. What would you like to add?
Favorite show ever done. My favorite show I've ever done is Dream Girls.
I think mine was Hair.
Mine was Hairspray for sure. It was my first show I ever did. Like at 17, it was the thing that gave me my like inspiration to I was like, oh, I love this. Like I was doing all the stuff. So I loved Hairspray. Yeah. And the music.
I think mine was In the Heights.
Yes.
I really like doing Between the Lines.
And they got an album. You're on.
I know.
And the singing was an Oz.
The best one out you ever heard?
That's right. Mine is I started in New York in this off-Broadway show called We Are the Tigers, and it's about a group of cheerleaders. Again, kind of a girl group thing, and that's my favorite.
That was the perfect question to get into. And you're in the Museum of Broadway, so now if you can go back and learn like a lot of what we show upstairs inside the museum, and you guys all came, like you see like where we came from and how we got to where we are, and how we'll continue to be able to move forward and make it a more equitable, inclusive future. So,
Woo!
deal at the desk, but I just want to say thank you so much for being here.